Hello, my name is Omar Rampersad. It's Thursday, April 4th, 2019 at 4:49 p.m. in Toronto. So I'm going to just start off with today's sampling of the uh, the tagging, the ongoing tagging here at 25 Bamburgh Circle. I am being tracked, and these signals are used to track and to torture and to train because as my tweets at arrow SHINI 911 indicated, and on an ongoing basis, that I strongly suspect that there is a sex slave operation being run from this building at 25 Bamburgh Circle. And certain residents, especially single women, are being reported on to cause flags against their name in the system, and then worked on and harassed and trained to and remotely trained by these signals to produce prostitutes, real life prostitutes at the end of the process, and sex slaves. So I'm suspecting that the flag is the start of that process. To The flag, I should say, is the start of the official process, because I'm suspecting that this has been going on without the flag for years before that, where women like myself, single women, and kids who are chosen from the school system, because there are pedophiles in the system and most systems who are empowered to do this, who have the power to do this. They are chosen to be enrolled in this program. So in my case, I'm suspecting that this started with me at a very early age, as soon as I came to Canada, because there's predators in the system, as in other countries, constantly looking for new recruits in order to train and to sell remotely and physically. So in my case, when I came to this building, I started having heart palpitations, and judging from what I'm experiencing right now, when the power is turned up, as I just this power is turned up, I get heart palpitations. So I started getting heart palpitations as soon as I moved into this building about 20 years ago. So I was being accessed and I was being tracked 20 years ago. So after 9/11, the building superintendent back then was Gord. His name is Gord. I'm suspecting that he was involved, if directly, if not directly, indirectly, to have me flagged with the cops at 42nd Division by calling and lying about things that was supposed to have been happening in my unit. And he put a criminal spin on everything I did, everything he heard. And I'll give you a really good example of that. I heard that when walnuts popped in my oven, he called and said that it could be a bomb in my unit. Um, I was planting, doing, I remember putting garlic down and some soil, and I got home the next day and it was pulled up. So somebody was in the unit checking to see what I was planting. So a grow up. I heard the word grow up. My apartment was on a drug bust list. This is what I'm being harassed with. I heard that the cops were in here checking for drugs several times, actually. I was never notified of this. So this is an ongoing program here at 25 Bamburgh Circle to call the cops and flag people and call them to check the units, because I'm flagged. And I heard that I was flagged as somebody who has mental illness. And what had actually happened was these technologies were being used to harass me. And when I verbalized about it or reacted as a result of being harassed this way, I was recorded inside of my home, and these recordings were submitted to court to show how, quote unquote, mentally ill I was. So I was being set up and framed, as I'm being right now. In each case of the three interactions I had with the cops, the last one, I was charged with a crime I did not commit as a result of two Sharia women lying. I almost died a couple times in custody. So this is at the police station. I was never in jail, as I heard the remarks outside the window. I was held at the police station, so in holding cells. So I strongly suspect that I was being hit in the cells as well with these signals. So this is an ongoing issue with this building, and it's spread out. My workplace has been infiltrated, my family's been infiltrated, every aspect of my life and all the relationships I've had is infiltrated. So this is to put this whole thing in a wider perspective. This is just a manifestation of what's going on a global basis. And in Canada here, it's being done more and more, and there's violence against women, and the attitude towards women is very a suppressive one. This is being exaggerated, and it's being practiced openly and almost being accepted. A rape culture is also is being accepted more and more. I think because the influence of the cultures that are coming in, the new cultures that are coming in into the country, cultures that preach suppression of women, control of women, rape of women, selling of women, sex slaves, making them sex slaves, openly accepted, practiced in Canada. I think this is a fallout of this influence into our culture, where men, and I read research that said one in every two men will rape if he can get away with it. So given that base to start with, because men on the whole, um, as I said, 50% will rape if they can get away with it. So this reflects the attitude of men towards women to start with. So given the influx of cultures that preaches rape of women as a control mechanism, violence towards them, beating them up, and all this misogynistic activities towards women, this is being exaggerated by cultures coming into the country and practicing it openly in our culture. Now, the cops turn a blind eye in cultures that accept it and practice it. But what about people who are getting harassed because this culture is influencing other men to do this, to act this way towards women? Other men, from an Indian background, from Sri Lankan background, from Christian background, from Hindu background. These are people who has this intent towards women, being influenced and being given this environment that's accepting this attitude towards women to act in, and given to believe that they can get away with it. So the community targeting program in my case is just a cover to allow that to happen and to traffic me into this underground where this is happening. And like I said before in my other blogs, I strongly suspect Rohini Besasa was trafficked this way. She was channeled into this underground, and she was totally isolated, because if you study her life before she unfortunately did what she did, you would see a pattern of degradation, of mental illness that was claimed to be as a result of hearing voices, when I suspect it was really experimentation, as the experimentation that's being carried out right here on 25 Bamburgh Circle. The flagging is part of an experiment. The flag is part of an experiment, because as a result of the flag, I'm being monitored, and that monitoring is being outsourced, and the outsourcing is going to the gangs. And the gangs are following me around. When I report this to the cops are telling me I'm mentally ill. That's a cover-up. I am not mentally ill. There's definitely symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder from everything that's going on, and the charge that went through that should not have gone through, and the way it was handled, and the way I was arraigned. But other than that stress, and the stress caused by being tortured, there is no mental illness. Other than the symptoms of stress, this is that people could say can, again, like everything else in life, they're twisting things that happen in people's regular life and making it look like it's symptoms of mental illness. Really, it's not mental illness. This is a natural reaction to being harassed continuously on a lot of levels, psychologically, emotionally, physically. And a lot of it is being done remotely as well, being isolated, socially isolated, being cut out from the family, because right now members of the family are taking part in this program, And of course it creates a lot of friction, which creates isolation. So this is all a planned program. It's an agenda. So there's a conspiracy. Information is gathered about you, then people come together in teams and decide what they're going to do to degrade you, humiliate you, and pull you down and destroy you, basically, by continuously remotely raping, then eventually physically raping, and then eventually killing you off. Because then after doing all of this violence, violating you continuously, they don't want you around because you're going to start fighting back. So they're going to dispose of you. Remotely giving you a heart attack would be a great way to do it without leaving signs behind. I actually had symptoms of a heart attack that was never diagnosed. I'm strongly suspecting that the power was turned up and the walls of my heart was collapsed. I had all the symptoms. I had heart palpitations. I had pain in my chest. I had extremely swollen legs, fluid retention, and I went to the emergency, and the Chinese doctor who looked after me sent me home in the middle of the night after saying there is no heart attack. I suspect that when I did go to the hospital, it's very possible that the symptoms were either after I had it or was leading up to it. Not quite sure. But as a target, everybody knows, and everybody you come in contact with knows. So everyone, including doctors, are told this is an experiment. Don't do anything about it. We're experimenting with her. So the doctors are told to stand down. This is part of the experiment. So those tweets, ROSHINI 911, are mine. There is absolutely no mental illness. I am being framed again, as I was framed before. The false charge was as a result of my being framed. I am being framed again at 25 Bamburgh Circle, which is why I'm doing this. There's a pattern where my door is being monitored every time I get up at night, 2, 3 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock, it really doesn't matter. Somebody passes my door. So my door is being monitored. I hear the door click, a neighbor's door click. I'm not sure which neighbor, because I am not looking at the door all the time. Sometimes I may look at the peephole, through the peephole, but I don't have a camera at my door, so I don't know which neighbor it is. But one of the neighbors' door clicks as soon as I start walking in my unit at 3 o'clock in the morning. This is a pattern. So my door is being monitored. So the only way that this person could appear at my door when I'm walking inside my unit at 3 a.m. in the morning is if I'm being tracked inside of my unit, if I'm being stalked inside of my unit, which these signals demonstrate very, very clearly. My hands are tracked, my hands are tagged, and so are my feet, my ankle. And the evidence of that is a swollen ankle, because my ankle is constantly being pulsed. And I have swollen wrists. My hand are constantly pulsed. So this is evidence that I'm being tracked. Certain areas in your body is tagged. And right now, my obliques and my stomach is tagged. See how bright that is? And because I'm doing this, the power is turned up. So when I'm blogging and I'm talking like I'm talking right now, and I'm in pain, I will cut it short. So the idea is to stop talking, basically. Inflammation in your body, your body constantly being inflamed, is another sign of being constantly radiated. Radiation, microwave radiation, causes inflammation. This is what causes the pain. The inflammation causes the pain. Talk to you another time. I refuse to be framed.